Record into cloud. Let's see. Are you going to play?
Come on, come on, come on.
Amazing. Okie dokie. Hi, everybody. This should be working now. Fingers crossed. Welcome to another Friday Finance, where we're thrilled to be joined by Ruth Downs, who is a financial advisor who has now worked with hundreds of vets and vet nurses alongside VetYou. Which, one second. Sorry, everybody, in the background, our live stream was playing. So I can hear me speaking. I am speaking. I can hear Ruth at the moment. So yes, at least we know it's working. Oh, I don't know if you get the same. You know, when you can hear yourself down the phone and you're like, I can hear me twice. And I suddenly can't compute it and speak at the same time. So awesome. Back on track. Today, we are going to be talking all things preparing for buying a property. So those of you that are in the VetYou community know that we did an event in July where we were joined by a fantastic mortgage advisor. She came along and talked about the mortgage process. But one of the pieces that we didn't touch on and will probably resonate with a lot of you out there, maybe particularly some of the more recently qualified professionals, is setting yourself up for success in buying that first property. Because I'm sure you must speak to loads of people, Ruth, where you're saying to them, like, what are your plans? What are your life aims? And although there are no set plans, you know, there's no rules, you do you, I'm sure a lot of them must be keen to add buying a property into that upcoming plan.
It always comes up time and time again. It's I always ask, what is your goal? If you can have anything you want to achieve, what is it? And always, usually one of the most popular ones that comes up is saving for a first property, having your own piece of land.
And that's exciting. I get it. I was definitely there as well. My first 2 years after graduating, that was always on the horizon for me. And I think what would be a really good starting point would be, because like we said, this is the stuff pre-mortgage. A lot of that is coming on to deposits and things like that. But Ruth, how can we set ourselves up for success thinking about maybe our spending habits and things like that when we're coming to buy property?
So there's a couple of things that I always advise for people to start thinking about. So the first one, pay your bills on time. This might sound quite a simple thing, but it's you've got to take it into account, because paying your bills, it's a habit that can give you a really good, strong credit score, which leads me on to know your credit score. So knowledge is power. So paying your bills on time can improve this score, and it's important that you know kind of what it is and how your spending habits can affect it. And you can get loads of free reports online as well. And just one final one, making sure that you've got a strong, we say, debt to income ratio. So make sure that you're not spending more than what you're bringing in.
Yeah, and that loops back to a point that we've discussed many times at VetYou, is going through that financial questionnaire and figuring out what comes in, what goes out. We've actually done a whole live together on that I'll link back in the comments afterwards, with the fantastic spreadsheet that Ruth has provided us with previously. And again, we always have the meme of spreadsheets and the terrified cat. If spreadsheets aren't up your street, you can do it with pen and paper as well. So I'll pop those resources in there too. And it's really interesting that you touch on credit score as well, because I think that's something that quite often, I know personally for me, I realized that there was quite a bit of background work to build that up, rather than checking in and finding that out. So it's useful for people to have that on their periphery. So you've said if people did want to check the credit score, online resources, is there anything to look for when they're checking that credit score?
Just try and make sure it's as high as possible. So the step one, though, is understanding what it is and what your specific one is. So just type in on Google or something like that, credit score report, and I'm sure there's tons that will come up, and just pick one that has a high rating, so you know you're getting one that's accurate, and then work on it from there.
And I know we can pop some more resources out. We've done a few social media posts as well, like you say, paying bills on time and various bits that can affect it. Maybe even just having that on your radar as to, oh, I didn't realize that could have affected my credit score. And I know for me personally, I think my bank integrates that into my account now. So I get a credit score every month that just says, oh, your credit score has been updated. So maybe it's seeing if there's any resources that you've already got access to, I guess, in the background. And
it's interesting because on some of them as well, it can notify you if there's a change. So even just staying ahead of it to make sure that no one's set anything up on your behalf that you don't know about, and then you can quickly log on and see what's happening. It can be so important to keep track of.
So good top tip there. Anyone that is thinking of getting the first property or maybe buying another property, just get that on your radar so that you can check out your credit score and find a way to track it and see what affects it as well. So great first starting point there. Again, we've already said, let's get on top of what comes in, what goes out, getting clarity there. We'll put resources to that. So a big part of this, obviously, is saving up for a deposit.
Yeah. So
I'd love to know your top tips, Ruth, in terms of saving and getting that deposit in place.
Okay, Katie, I'm going to make you smile with this one. It's all about making daily compromises. If you want to save for something, you've got to cut back in certain areas to afford it in others. So every financial decision you make throughout any given day can either help or hurt you. So while spending something like £3.50 on a coffee doesn't seem like much at the point when you're buying it. And I laugh about this because I know coffee is very important to a lot of people. But doing this every single year, it can account to over £1,300. That could be an entire month's mortgage payment. So it's just being mindful of where your money goes, which the financial questionnaire can help, and then starting to save up slowly and make sure that you save an amount that's affordable. So maybe contribute to a savings account or something like that, where you set aside a certain amount every month and go, okay, is this affordable? Can I continue to do it? And that will help you to understand as well what you can afford in terms of mortgage payments. And when you come to do it eventually, you'll have a set amount that you can stick to.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. I'm just looking on the comments on Facebook here. We've had Lacey say coffee. It was scary, the amount on coffee. I hear you. I do 100%. And you know what? I think you always make this point so well. It's not about restriction in terms of us knowing where things go, but once we've got that knowledge, we can make that sacrifice, like we say, and
100%.
say, look, you know what? When you do the maths on it, even if it's £3 a day on coffee, like you say, that's over £1,000 in the year. And I think one of the other important things as well, like you said with the financial questionnaire, is that you can start to figure out, okay, how much cash is there going to be free that could cover a mortgage? Because I'll tell you, this is a slight aside, but I remember when I was getting my first house, my only house, and my practice manager at the time, she was talking to me and saying something about a pay rise. And I think she was, between us all on Facebook, probably having a little rant saying she thought that I should get a pay rise, and that I said, oh, I've got plenty of money. I've got loads of money. I'm comfortable. I'm happy with how much money I've got at the moment. And I was just about to buy a house. And she said to me, you know what, when you've got that house, you'll realize you don't have that much money anymore. I was like, oh, whatever. And then actually I realized, hang on one second. Not only does the house come, but then there's the bills, there's the council tax, there's the home insurance, there's all the bits that come with the house. And actually, I kind of wish that I'd heeded that warning of planning that out and seeing what that looked like. Because when I was bringing back however much per month and I was just paying my parents some rent, paying for fuel in the car, had a few luxuries, buying coffee here, there and everywhere, it's like, oh, I've got tons of money left, this will be fine. And then actually those things came in. So I guess that's something to bear in mind as well, isn't it?
That's 100%. People say, I've got a deposit. I'm like, but what about the rest? I'm like, you've got conveyancing solicitors, you've got moving costs, you've got furniture that you might want to buy. There's so much. And just on when we talked about deposit as well, there's a great investment tool called a lifetime ISA, individual savings account. It's flexible, it's affordable way to save and invest for your first home or later life. And you can open one up from 18 up until 39 years old, and the government give you 25% bonus up to £4,000 a year, and that's so great. I mean, that's being given money to save for your first house,
free money. And obviously now is a good time for us to signpost that Ruth is doing us an event on savings and investments on the 20th of September as well. So if you do want to know more about those things, come along, because we've got more time than we do here to talk about like lifetime ISAs and free money. I mean, if you're saving up for a house, it's well worth spending the time speaking to someone in the know and figuring out that you're eligible for something like that, because that's a lot of extra cash per year. Like, what a difference that would make.
Yeah. And let's start, insurance as well, so important, Katie.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that next, actually, in terms of, so we've talked about like getting a deposit in place. I think you raised a really good point there as well, Ruth, about being aware of the other costs that come in when you're purchasing. Because it was a shock to me about paying conveyancers and paying solicitors. Like, I went into buying a house totally clueless. I was like, oh, I've just paid all my money on a deposit and now I have to give them some money as well. I'm like, I'm going to have to like get some extra shifts in or do some moves around with cash here. So having awareness of that. But when we look at financial products, and we've touched on this a few times, but will it make a difference to us having things like income protection, critical illness cover? Can we talk around that a little bit in terms of preparing?
Absolutely. Now, first of all, there's one type of insurance that is essential if you have a mortgage, and it's house insurance. The lender that you go with will insist on it. So you need to have a policy in place by the date that you actually have a property. But there's things like income protection, I think, is very important for you to, it's not a necessity, but I think it's really important because it will pay out a regular income if you can't work because of sickness or disability, and it continues to be paid until you recover or you retire. So if you are ill, how will you afford those mortgage payments? Whereas having something like an income protection policy in place can be absolutely a lifesaver. And you've got things like life insurance as well that you could have with like critical illness cover as a bolt on. And we have done a separate one on that specifically. So you can have a look at that.
Definitely loads of resources to add on if you want to dive deeper into any of these. And one of the things we always talk about is how useful it is considering your own individual circumstances, speaking to somebody like Ruth who can look with an overview at where are you at? What are your goals? What protections have you got? Can we propose ones that might suit you better or ones that would suit you because you've not considered it? Because I think quite often, and I was really naive to this, but buying a house is a big, big responsibility. And it's really easy to just look in the short term of, I think I'll be able to afford all the mortgage payments. It'll be okay. But life changes really quickly. And I know certainly like the pandemic was a big thing that threw that up when there were so many people being furloughed or people that were self-employed and realized that actually income was a lot more difficult to get because in that circumstance maybe there wasn't as much work out there. And then something that we'd taken for granted, which was kind of that security of the mortgage gets paid because I've got this income all the time, was really thrown up in the air. So anyone that's listening now, as much as we think we've got a really stable position that we're in, having anything that you can have to cover your back and make sure you're protected is really valuable. And I mean, we'll come on to in a minute, Ruth, people having a chat with you and talking through their circumstances. Like, I 100% wish that I had a Ruth when I was doing this.
BFF.
That's it. You need a best financial friend, because I 100% went into it blind of, I'll figure it out. And you know what? I did, but it was quite scary. And I know that if I had someone like Ruth on board that could have said, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? And I could ask all those questions that I felt were a bit silly to ask, then it would have been a lot of a smoother, probably more enjoyable process. So
yay.
I was just finally going to ask, because obviously you see people doing this every day, Ruth, were there any other top tips, insights for people that are keen to look at buying a property?
Don't bury your head in the sand. So, knowledge is power. Be proactive, work out the type of house you can afford and start looking at what is out there at the minute. Look at the market, just listen to the news. Is there going to be a time where buying a house might be cheaper? Is it worth waiting? And then go and have a look at a few houses, go visit them and find out if it's something that you want, so you can get ahead of the game. And that will give you such a drive to save as well, because you'll be like, I want my own space. I want something like this. And then find mortgage advisors, best financial friends, BFFs, that can just put you on the right path and give you some good advice.
I love that. What absolute incredible insights we've had there. And I think just coming back to what you were saying there as well, and I was thinking about getting excited about it and what it could look like is going to help you in those moments of making those decisions and those sacrifices. Because if you're like, hang on one second, like, I wish I had my old cup of coffee here, that would have been well placed, wouldn't it? Do I have a coffee, this roll of packing tape that we'll call a coffee? Oh, you know what, actually, maybe I could make one at home, and then that's going to add into this. And it doesn't feel like as much of a sacrifice then, does it? It feels like you're actively voting with your feet towards what you want.
But look, to anyone else that's listening, I don't mind, because I get little pictures of people having coffees and cakes all the time. You know who you are. And it's absolutely fine. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just saying, maybe if you wanted to achieve something, a goal, then you might need to start putting a little bit aside to start saving for it.
Yeah. And coffee is just an example, isn't it? Like, there is so many things out there. I mean, if you want a point of what Ruth is talking about, we went out for coffee to one of my favorite cafes, and they knew my order and they said hello to me. I was like, this shows that I spent a lot of cash on coffee. Hi, Katie, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. Would you like that cortado? Yes, please.
You look so guilty. You look so guilty. I was like, it's coffee, Katie. It's okay.
Oh dear. So anybody watching, we are not criminalizing coffee. It's just those little things. And I think quite often what gives you that big perspective shift is seeing what that looks like over a year, or seeing what that looks like over a month, or over 3 or 4 years. And it doesn't mean that we have to cut it out 100%. It might just mean, you know what, this is a big goal I'm working towards. I'm going to have my coffee on a Saturday morning, sat in the cafe, soaking up the atmosphere. But the other days of the week, I'm going to buy myself some Tassimo pods or whatever pods you've got, and I'm going to make it at home. And that's going to save me this much cash. And that's where we're at. So I think we've covered so much ground there. We've talked about credit scores, we've talked about lifetime ISAs, we've talked about savings tips, we've talked about income protection, critical illness cover, about budgeting, we've talked about the financial questionnaire.
We've gone through a lot.
We've gone through loads of stuff in the last just over 15 minutes. So just finally, if people did want to book in a call with you, Ruth, and just chat through things with you, can you tell everybody what that looks like and what you help them with on this topic?
It's absolutely simple. We've got a link, haven't we, Katie, can put in where they have access to my calendar, so you can see, just book in a time that's convenient to you, and then we go through your specific circumstances. It's free call, completely complimentary. So, you know, we'll just work out, you know, potentially what you need to put aside to get that first property, to start looking at how much you need to save. And it's a really great process. You'll leave with a smile on your face, feeling in control. And who doesn't want to feel in control of the finances?
100%. And we have so many lovely comments come back every week about working with Ruth. She's not going to force you into anything. She's not going to twist your arm. She's not going to make you give up coffee. She's literally, just in the same way that we do with our old clients, lay down the options that you've got with an expert view, because she knows the whole picture. And that just gives you that peace of mind, so that when we've read, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to resonate with this, on the news, there's huge amounts about, new generations can't afford houses, or maybe it's that they need to spend less on this, and it's impossible to buy a property, and all these stories that come up. And actually, if you want to put yourself in the best position to get a property, it's having someone on board that's going to help guide you through the process, because it's really easy for us to absorb all those negative news stories and things coming up that make us think it's not possible. So we're here to say, what if it is? And what if there are people that want to help you? So I will drop all those resources below. We'll see you next Friday. Well, actually, we won't see you next Friday, because Ruth is away having a lovely time on a sunny holiday. So we will report back when we are back in on a Friday. And in the meantime, everybody can drop in the comments if there's any other topics that you want to see us cover, anything else you'd like to see us dive a bit deeper on. Please do come along and join us on Tuesday evening if you're around, because we've got Running Your Side Hustle. Because again, if it's that you wanted to save a deposit and you want an extra income, maybe it's that you want to set your side hustle up. That is where we're talking with Nicola, the accountant, all about what do I need to declare, what do I need to keep as records, how do I even run it on a financial side of things. So jump on that on Tuesday night, 7:30. That's the 30th of August. And then the 20th of September, we have Ruth joining us for a savings and investment session. So again, please do come along to that.
Going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. It was a good one last time. We had loads of people taking action off the back of it and loads of people reaping the rewards of that already. So if you want to be one of those, get signed up. We'll pop the link. There'll be many links in the comments afterwards. You'll see them all. And again, please do just keep in touch with us as to what we can help you with. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been lovely to be here with you on another Friday Finance. And thank you, Ruth.
All right.